Today, we're gonna break down an invoice to a client, how it should look, how you should send it, everything in between. So coming on the heels of the how to charge a client video, I got a lot of questions about just invoicing and just professional documents and whatever. So I thought it'd be good to just touch on a video strictly on an invoice, how an invoice should look, how it should be, how you should send it off and deal with the clients, and furthermore, just kind of talk about that, but just break down every step of this invoice here. So as you can see from the invoice, I've blocked out as far like personal information, so the client's personal information, address, phone number, as well as my information, phone number, etc. But everything else is an exact, this is what was sent to the client. This is an invoice dealing with a very large global company. So here you can see up top, what you're gonna wanna do is put your production company's name, your info, and as well as all of your info from your company's address, email, phone number, etc. You want to then have a bill to section of which you're going to have all of that company's information as well. Same thing, the company's name, their address, phone number, email. Just for your records, you need all that information on the invoice. Up here, we have the date of the invoice number, and then some of the just basic information up top here with the location, production date, etc. So on your invoice, I like to make it pretty clear what the invoice is for. Sometimes it's way more detailed, sometimes it's a little more cut and dry and simple, but as you can see here, the description of this project was a behind the scenes video, an unboxing review, and social media content posts. Now I could have gone into a little more detail there about what those content posts were, such as 2-story posts, 1 feed post, etc. But we had a contract and agreement outlining all of that in detail, so I didn't feel the need to add it to the invoice because it was very clear and laid out in the contract agreement that we had as well. So those worked, this invoice and that worked simultaneously together, and it was outlined clearly, so I just had to give a brief description of what was expected and what the company could look at and go, okay, this is what we're paying. So the total cost of this entire project is $12,000. Now, when you're dealing with a company, they're not just gonna pay you $12,000 up front, but you also don't wanna wait for the $12,000 until everything is done. You should certainly get a deposit. And in this case, you can see the breakdown here. You always want to break it down, and of course give a little terms and conditions here, but the breakdown for this invoice is as follows. The total was $12,000. $6,000, 50% due immediately. That's before any work is done. I need a 50% deposit to get started on this project. So then I broke it down as follows with the final 50%. 25% was due with delivery of the rough cut, and then the rough cuts of all these things mentioned here, and then the final 3,000 or the final 25% was due upon final delivery of all assets. And that was again that all totals up to be $12,000, but immediately right now $6,000 is due immediately. And so you want to highlight what is due whenever you're sending the invoice. You want to highlight what is due so it is clear what is due. And then when you would make up a second invoice on the back end, sometimes companies want you to have the secondary invoice showing what's been paid and now what is due. So on the second invoice, if they ask for another invoice, you would mark this as paid, and then this would be due, etc. But in this case, this is the very first invoice I sent. So this is the breakdown, 50% due. This is what's due right now. Then below all that, a nice little message always, helps, just to thank them for their business. It's a pleasure. That's just something I always like to add into there just to make it feel a little more personal. And then of course at the bottom, all your payment information and how you can be paid. So for me, I take direct deposit and or check. I have my address here, and then I take PayPal as well, but make a note that depending on whatever payment that you're accepting, that you have your stipulations in there. So if sent via PayPal, must be sent as friends or family. Otherwise, PayPal takes a large percentage of that payment that you're not going to see. So I'm letting the client know, hey, if you send as PayPal, that's fine, but it needs to be sent as friends or family. Then that way, also, if they do send via PayPal and you don't have that message down there and you just have PayPal email and they don't send it as friends and family, there's nothing that's telling them, there's nothing that has told them that you only accept payment this way. And so you have no leg to stand on when you come back to them and be like, hey, PayPal took that, I need you to send it as this. Well, you didn't make it clear. You have to outline everything very clear when it comes to your invoicing, your contracts with the client. It's super important to outline everything and be clear and transparent about everything that's going down with your guys' business. Now, I broke it down in the last video. Typically it works like, in the music video industry or just industry in general, you could break down in 2 payments, whether it's 50-50 or 75 up front, 25 on the back end, etc. That's typically how I do it. But because of all the different facets with this one, there was like 3 different pieces, from the behind the scenes, the unboxing, the social media content post, and it was a decent sized little project budget. I broke it down into 3 payments. That's kind of what we had agreed to when we spoke on the phone, and I was totally fine and cool with that. So there are ways there's no right or wrong way in the sense of like, oh, it has to be 50%, 25%, 25%, or 50% up front, 50 on the back end. It's up to you and the client to kind of decide those terms, but you as the production company hold the power in that regard and be like, hey, this is how I work. I take 50% up front, 50% due on the back end with completion. Or if you want to make it, I take 75% up front, 25% on the back end. That's up to you to decide and work it out with the client, but you hold a lot of that power as a production company of like, hey, this is how I do my work. So you can either kind of formulate this template yourself in like Pages or a text document. We also at Tropicolor have, templates, production templates for all different types of things. Like I want to show you guys this real quick here. So here, this is like a template that we have in our production essentials documents for that we have at Tropicolor. This is like a work for hire agreement. So we'll do this all the time if we're hiring someone, and we'll come up with an agreement. So we would fill this out, if we were hiring someone to do some work for us, just so there was, it's basically like a contract. It's just a work for hire agreement. So if I was hiring someone to do behind the scenes for me, I could fill this out with, my production company name, the job. I would put all their information here. I would, lay out the payment terms, the work days, the start and end date, just the list of deliverables. And so this is just like a easy, simple like contract, if you will, a work for hire agreement, so that you have those details outlined. So this would work simultaneously with this. The company that I worked with here for this invoice sent me their own contract, an agreement that they have made up and have created, but this would work in the same capacity. So they could put all their information here, their production company name, the job, my information, and the terms of which, the deliverables and what they expected on, as far as like my rate. They would put the $12,000 right in here. And so these 2 things can work simultaneously together, and you should always have an agreement that backs up what you're doing with your invoice. If nothing else, try and as best as you can lay out all project details in the description of the invoice. If you're not doing a contract, I wouldn't recommend not doing a contract. You should always at least have that. But yeah, these are from right here. This is from our production essentials pack at Tropicolor. And that's pretty it. That's the simple breakdown of an invoice, your information, the company's information, the description of the project, the breakdown of the cost, highlight in red whatever is due right then with this invoice that you're sending, whether that's the money up front or this is the secondary invoice that you send and this is money on the back end. Highlight it so it's clear, put your terms in there. So as soon I have it, 100% of this payment is due upon receipt. So meaning as soon as they receive this invoice, this $6,000 is due. My payment information, a little personal message, the date, invoice number, That's really it. That's the breakdown right there. So hopefully this helped you get a little idea into what a formal or proper invoice should look like. And moving forward, you can, come off a little more professional to any future clients. Because I know when I started out and I was making videos, I didn't do any of this. Like this is just, it was so foreign to me. I didn't go to business school. I didn't have a mentor teaching me or telling me how to run a business. And it's hard starting out to like run and operate a business because your mind doesn't work that way. You're just trying to make and create videos, and you're not sitting there thinking like of all of these little details that go into running and operating a business. So hopefully this can help some of you guys and give you an idea on how to properly write and submit an invoice. Thumbs up, smash the like button, comment below if there's anything that you guys want to see. Any other topics that you want me to cover. I'm here. I'm trying to just pump out as much content for you guys as possible. I'm reading all the comments as far as like what you guys want to see. So just let me know what you guys want to see, and I'll make a video covering it. So appreciate you guys. I'm Jakob Owens for the Buff Nerds, and I'm out. Peace.